Hello, movie friends. Welcome back to the show. Anthony here.
And James here. Today we're going to do an actor spotlight on the great Jackie Chan, who is an American and Chinese cinema icon, probably one of the most recognizable and loved stars on the entire planet. Jackie filled our childhood with so many amazing movies, and we've been huge fans of his since we were little kids, renting his movies at Blockbuster and watching them on TV. We love Jackie so much. We're so happy to be doing a spotlight on him.
Jackie's really one of the biggest movie stars of all time because he is the icon of both the Chinese market and for a couple of decades, he was an icon in the American market, which hasn't been done since. Other actors have come close.
Jet Li was close.
Bruce Lee was close, but he didn't have a long enough career to really outrun what Jackie Chan did. But what Jackie was he was our superhero when we were kids. Him and Jet Li movies, we were watching Jackie Chan, Jet Li. We were looking forward to the movies every summer. We loved them all. Jackie especially because Jet Li was awesome, but he didn't have that charm and personality and charisma that Jackie had. I think that Jackie is one of the most personable movie stars to ever grace the movie screens. I think that he was so talented and he earned everything he ended up becoming.
Yeah, and he's the contemporary to Buster Keaton, which I think is such a high compliment to put on an actor and a filmmaker. You know, Buster Keaton was one of those great classic silent film stars, but he was also like the original, you could say, stunt movie star. Charlie Chaplin obviously did a lot of his own stunts as well, and Jackie's very similar to Charlie, but I say he's more like Buster Keaton because of the death-defying, highly dangerous stunts that he excels at compared to most other actors in the entire world. But Buster Keaton was really doing this and pioneered it in the 19-teens and 20s. Then Jackie just kind of took the flame, and he's been doing it ever since.
Yeah, and Chaplin, he did plenty of stunts, but they were more creative and illusory. Whereas Buster Keaton was legit like putting his life at danger at the expense of entertaining the audience. And that's what Jackie really excelled at. I think that Jackie combined both those performers because he not only does the stunt work, but he puts the comedy into it, that silent era comedy, this goofiness, the silliness, the zaniness. Like every person of any age can watch a Jackie Chan scene and be entertained by him, and that's something that very few people are capable of.
Well, then add in Bruce Lee. So he's like Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, and Bruce Lee combined into one movie star, and obviously he's going to take the world by storm with fascination and love and adornment. Is that
adoration?
Adoration. Thanks for the vocab word.
Adornment is if like you adorn something with right. Physical items.
Let's move on to James' handicap and vocabulary. And Jackie stole the fascination of the entire world by combining these three.
Jimmy broke his set.
I didn't break anything. So he has the comedic chops and slapstick humor of Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton as well, but also throwing that in and combining that with Bruce Lee's incredible martial arts, but making the martial arts slapstick in its own right and kind of inventing a new way of a new form of humor in Hollywood especially.
Yeah, and that started with Drunken Master, really. That was when he started to use the humor, combine it with the martial arts and the stunt work to just make the audience laugh because, you know, Chinese cinema, they were doing stunts and martial arts for decades, but he was really adding that comedic element and he was entertaining audiences. It was something different and something new that he started in his career in the 70s and the 80s, and he brought it to America. He tried to bring his brand of cinema to America a couple of times in the 80s, but he didn't really hit. He didn't land with anything. But then, obviously, we all know with Rush Hour, once that movie came out, it took America by storm. And then ever since then, for 20 years, it was everyone wanted to see a Jackie Chan movie every year.
It's kind of like what Bruce Lee movies were. Like Bruce Lee movies, look at the posters. His name is the biggest font of even the title and everything else. It's like a Bruce Lee movie. It's a Jackie Chan movie. It's an Arnold movie. It's a Sylvester Stallone movie. He became a superstar overnight.
And ironically, Jackie Chan's first credit in a Hollywood American movie was in Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon, where Jackie Chan was a stuntman on that movie. So humble beginnings. He started out as a stuntman, as a stunt coordinator, and as an action director. So just a person who would choreograph fights, a person who would act in fights or in some kind of crazy stunt that the actor couldn't physically do. That's where Jackie Chan cut his teeth and earned his way into production. He did that in the 70s and 80s, and then he eventually began producing and acting and directing even many of his own movies.
So in 2015, Forbes estimated Jackie Chan's net worth to be over $350 million, and as of 2016, he was the second highest paid actor on the planet Earth.
Wow.
Crazy accomplishment. Jackie has 141 acting credits, 64 producer credits, 18 director credits, 16 writer credits, and 79 stunt credits. And the stunt credits are either as a stunt actor or stunt performer or stunt coordinator, stunt choreographer. Like, for example, he was even the stunt coordinator and choreographer for Kung Fu Panda movies, which is really cool. But he's just got so much work and credits to his name. Not to mention the guy is still working. He's still putting out 2-3 projects a year, whether it be in American cinema or in Chinese cinema.
I think audiences all around the world just love him. He has so much charisma and such a likable personality. It's infectious, and he's obviously not the greatest actor in the world, but you don't need him to become a different kind of person. You just want him to be himself, and because he's so special and he brings so much to the screen that nobody else ever did, he was something that audiences automatically gravitated towards once they saw him for the first time.
And what was great is not just the love for audiences in America to embrace him when he came here, but also other action stars like Sylvester Stallone taking him under his wing, and they're great friends in person. In 2016, Jackie Chan was awarded an honorary Oscar at the Academy Awards for his extraordinary achievements in film. Obviously, Jackie, the kind of movies he makes, he knows what movies he makes. He makes fun action comedy movies. He's not making movies that would really be up for Oscars besides maybe some action categories. I guess he's done
Chinese cinema that's more serious.
Yeah, but in terms of American Hollywood cinema, Academy Awards, nothing he does would ever be really nominated. So it was great for the Academy to acknowledge his huge input on cinema, though.
I thought that was a great moment for the Oscars to acknowledge that, because of you can't deny his impact on movies. And also, I mean, he paved the way for Jet Li. You know, Jet Li, you could say, kind of took the mantle from him when Jackie was getting older, and he wasn't quite as fast. He couldn't do quite the fight scenes he used to be able to do. He could still do stunts, but the intense action sequences, Jet Li took that mantle from him, and then Jet Li had a great decade. We were seeing all of Jet Li's movies, so he paved the way for Asian actors in cinema after Bruce Lee made a big impact, and then Jackie Chan, then Jet Li. It's just amazing what these actors did for American cinema.
Now, before we continue, the best way to support Raiders of the Lost podcast, besides using our coupon codes, is to become a patron at patreon.com, where you get awesome perks like our podcast schedules, personalized videos, Patreon shoutouts on the show for Godfather tier and I Drink Your Milkshake tier patrons, weekly bonus episodes that all patrons have access to. Godfather tier patrons get to choose their own episode, their own topic, and we also do monthly Zoom calls that all Godfather and I Drink Your Milkshake tier patrons have access to. We also launched our podcast masterclass online course last year. So for anyone who wants to start a podcast or just improve your current podcast, our 22-chapter, 46-video lesson course will give you all the secrets behind the show. And the link is podcastmasterclass.teachable.com, or just go to our website, raidersoftheLostpodcast.com. It's right there on the homepage. Follow, subscribe, wherever you're listening. Thanks for tuning in around the world. Now let's get back into Jackie Chan, who is a superhuman.
What makes him so special, you could argue that Jackie Chan is the most committed actor in the history of movies around the world.
But like Tom Cruise wouldn't be who he is without Jackie Chan.
Oh yeah,
I think Tom Cruise probably took that mantle maybe for some of the roles.
Jackie Chan, he said that Jackie Chan has inspired him to really up the ante with his stunt work and to do special things with his stunt work, because Jackie was doing it well before the Mission Impossibles were about stunts. But Jackie Chan, he could be the most committed actor of all time, because, I mean, yeah, there are actors like, Meryl Streep and Daniel Day-Lewis who become method actors and immerse themselves in the roles, but Jackie Chan is, with every one of these movies, especially in his earlier career in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, he was risking his life to pull off these stunts. He was risking his life to entertain the audience, and he was training, just like Tom Cruise does nowadays, training to become an expert in a certain situation at a certain stunt. But I think the willingness to sacrifice his life and limb, because Tom Cruise, even though he's doing things like hanging from a helicopter, he's still he's strapped to the helicopter. In the last Mission Impossible movie. It doesn't make it any less impressive, but Jackie Chan has hung from a helicopter above a city without being tethered to it.
He's jumped from a helicopter onto
onto a ladder. He jumped from a building onto a helicopter's ladder.
A hot air balloon.
Yeah,
he jumped onto a hot air balloon. Yeah. That's crazy.
So Jackie has his commitment to the craft, his commitment to entertaining the audience. You could say it is second to none because of his willingness to put his life on the line in order to make something special.
Which we don't recommend you do. This is not safe. These are not safe things to do unless you're highly, highly trained, like someone like Jackie Chan or like someone like Tom Cruise, who spend years of their lives developing these intense skills. And Jackie's been training since he was a young kid. I mean, just a little background on Jackie. He was born as Chan Kong Sang in Hong Kong, 1954. His parents nicknamed him Pow Pow. In Chinese, that means cannonball, because the energetic child was always rolling around the ground. Chan attended Nahua Primary School in Hong Kong Island, where he failed his first year, so his parents withdrew him from the school in 1960. His father emigrated to Canberra, Australia, to work as the head cook for the American embassy there, and Chan was sent to the China Drama Academy, a Peking opera school run by Master Yu Jim Yuen. Chan trained rigorously for the next decade, excelling in martial arts and acrobatics. He eventually became part of the Seven Little Fortunes, a performance group made of the school's best students. Chan joined his parents in Canberra, Australia in 1976, where he briefly attended Dickson College and worked as a construction worker. A fellow builder named Jack took Chan under his wing, thus earning Chan the nickname Little Jack, later shortened to Jackie, which he stuck with in his entire career ever since. So that's how he got named Jackie.
It's a great name.
He's been child acting since the age of 5, stunt acting, and as a young adult in stunt choreography. Jackie Chan's first movie appearance in the Cantonese was in the Cantonese film Big and Little Wong Tin Bar, released in 1962 when he was only 8 years old. In 1976, Jackie Chan received a telegram from Willie Chan, a film producer in Hong Kong in the film industry who had been impressed with Jackie's stunt choreography work. Willie Chan offered him an acting role in a film directed by Lo Wei. Lo saw Chan's performance in John Woo film Hand of Death in 1976 and planned to model him after Bruce Lee with the film New Fist of Fury. Chan's first major breakthrough role was in 1978 with Snake in the Eagle's Shadow, shot while he was loaned to Seasonal Film Corporation under a 2-picture deal. Director Yu Wenping allowed Chan complete freedom over his stunt work. This established his comedic kung fu genre and proved refreshing to the Hong Kong audience. The same year, Chan then starred in Drunken Master, which finally propelled him to mainstream success, and he made his directorial debut in The Fearless Hyena in 1979.
It's amazing how many films of his he's directed. It's really impressive. And then
16,
produced.
Yeah. And also his first Hollywood film was The Big Brawl in 1980.
As a lead actor.
Chan then played a minor role in the 1981 film The Cannonball Run, which grossed over $100 million US and also worldwide.
And so his work in the 80s, and it didn't quite take off here in America, but eventually he hit big in the 90s.
Yeah, that's where Brett Ratner saw him as a star with Rush Hour.
And what's great is because we know him so well from his like buddy movies, like Rush Hour franchise and the Shanghai Kid franchise, which I think are both really great. They're both very funny, very entertaining. But you would think that he would be the sidekick, but in reality, the other actors are the sidekicks. You know, Chris Tucker is his sidekick in a lot of ways, and then Owen Wilson is his sidekick in a lot of ways. So Jackie, even though he's a foreigner, even though it's his second language, he still leads the pictures that he's in America in.
Yeah, and he's basically the reason why people go to those movies. Obviously, yeah. Chris Tucker and Owen Wilson are super funny and great actors, and we love them so much. But just to go back to Jackie's devotion, just in 2012, he directed and made the movie Chinese Zodiac. And in this movie, he had 15 roles. He was awarded Guinness Book World Record for it. He was the director, lead actor, writer, executive producer, and producer, the unit producer, the art director, the cinematographer, the prop man, the stunt coordinator, the manager, the gaffer, food caterer, composer, and even sang the theme song for the movie.
Was anyone else on set?
It was just him. We all know Jackie Chan does all of his own stunts. He won the Guinness Book World Record for most stunts performed by a living actor for his film, Chinese Zodiac, in 2012 also.
He'll never be topped.
So that's insane in 2012, he's like 60 years old at that time, still doing all this work. That's 30 jobs basically doing all that work.
Either he doesn't trust anyone else or he just was very passionate about it. And it would make sense if it happened over lockdown, but to just do it in 2012, that's pretty silly.
That's insane. But
yeah.
People may not know that Jackie's a great singer, so
really?
He's an operatically trained vocalist and is also a cantopop and mandopop star, having released a number of music albums and has sung many of the theme songs for the films in which he has starred in.
I had no idea.
Yeah, he's released over 20 albums in several languages, and he's also dubbed many of Disney classic movies, singing in Chinese in place of the English lyrics. Google videos on YouTube or wherever of Jackie Chan singing. The guy is phenomenal at singing.
Does he ever sleep?
I don't think so.
What can't he do?
Like, you think Tom Cruise is crazy, then you like read up on what Jackie Chan
He's
does.
a pop star?
What? Yeah.
I didn't know he was a pop star.
It's crazy. He's an amazing singer.
And he's just an amazing person. And I always remember in most of his films in America, one of the best parts about his movies was they were doing post-credit scenes before anyone was, but they weren't teases to other movies. They weren't like deleted scenes. The credit scenes in his movies were blooper reels, and the blooper reels were so much fun. When you saw a Jackie Chan movie, you were expecting a blooper reel at the end during the credits. So a blooper reel, the video would play on one half of the screen, and the credits would roll on the other half of the screen. And it would be a combination of acting mess-ups, stunt mess-ups, and then martial arts mess-ups. So it would be like Jackie and Chris Tucker flubbing their lines, or him and Owen Wilson flubbing their lines. A crazy stunt going wrong, and Jackie going like, "Oh, my back," or like a fighting mess-up where he misses something and gets hit in the head by something. And it was always so entertaining to see those mess-ups. I remember being a kid in the theater. The biggest laughs in the entire night would come during that blooper reel, and you could just see how excited people were to see Jackie Chan, because the bloopers and the mistakes and the mess ups, they showed how real it was. Because in the movie they do that, they take the perfect take is used, and they usually did a lot of long takes and slow amounts of editing, so you could tell it's really Jackie Chan fighting or doing a stunt. But obviously they used the only take that was probably looks the best and was a perfect performance. But when you see it in the blooper reels, you see all the mess ups, you're like, wow, Jackie is really putting his body at risk. He's really sacrificing himself. He's really going through hell just to make these scenes work. And it's just amazing. You can't help but be mystified by what he's able to accomplish in every movie.
To see that it's actually him doing everything. In a lot of the Chinese films that end with their blooper reels, they're more of the stunt injury reels, and they always end with Jackie being taken away in an ambulance.
Yeah, it is carried on a stretcher, unconscious.
He's had some serious injuries, which we'll get to in a little bit. So Jackie's also known as a great philanthropist and has been named one of the top 10 most charitable celebrities by Forbes magazine. The Jackie Chan Dragonheart Foundation, which launched in 2004, focuses on helping poor children and the elderly. Intricately involved in the foundation's missions, Chan often personally delivers warm clothes, wheelchairs, and school supplies to those in need. Rather than leave his money to his own son, JC, whom he shares with his wife, Joan Lynn, Chan plans to donate the entirety of his wealth to charity when he passes away. He made this announcement during an award ceremony held in Beijing in 2011. He said if he is capable, he can make his own money.
That's amazing. That's a great dad, I think. And it's something that I'm sure plenty of wealthy people, they just give their kids whatever they want. And, a lot of people are left with enormous sums of money. And I think to raise a kid with that kind of mentality, it instills a lot of gratitude in them probably, and a lot of work ethic, and make something of your own in your life and find meaning in your own life rather than just taking what was handed to you.
And I'm sure he's not just going to leave him with like
nothing.
A room with like a mattress and like a blanket. He's still Jackie Chan's son.
I'm sure his son will be like 50 by the time he dies.
I'm sure he'll leave him some houses and some cars and
he's
stuff
not going to be still sleeping in a bunk bed.
Yeah, but he's not going to give... He's like, all right, you're done. I'm dead. There's a basement room you can sleep in. He's still probably gonna get left lots of stuff in the will. I'm assuming.
Probably a house.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of houses all over the world, I'm sure. And so, just picture him like with a blanket, like, all right, good luck, see you later, peace out, going to heaven.
What's your favorite Jackie Chan movie?
Rush Hour.
Rush Hour, the
no
first one?
hesitation. Yes, the first one.
For me, it's Shanghai Noon.
I love that movie too. That's number 2 on my list.
I think Shanghai Noon is really awesome. It's so funny, and I watched it recently. I watched it like maybe 3 months ago, and I put it on just for fun because I wanted to laugh. But then the movie started, and 5 minutes into it, I was like, this production design and cinematography is unbelievable.
It's great.
It's really, it's
costume
beautiful.
Design, everything.
It's incredible. I couldn't believe it was a comedy because, like, when we watched it when we were 11, we weren't like looking at movies that way. But I watched it again as an adult and a film lover. I was like, this movie is just sensationally made.
I feel like I watched it like 4 years ago, and I was like, wow, that movie still holds up today.
Yeah,
it's still
great all around. It just fires on all cylinders. It's funny throughout. The story's awesome. The characters are great. Him and Owen Wilson obviously is terrific. It's not quite as funny as him and Chris Tucker, but I think that him and Owen Wilson go well together. They're a great pair, but I think that Shanghai Noon is such a great, perfect comedy.
And Shanghai Night is excellent as well. I mean, and they're super successful films. And speaking of successful films, let's talk about Jackie's most successful movies, highest grossing films, starting obviously with the Kung Fu I can't speak today. The Kung Fu Panda franchise. He voices Monkey in these films. The first film in the franchise made $632 million. The second and third films, released 3 and 8 years later, each collected a box office of $665 million and then $521 million. Those are wildly successful.
DreamWorks, I think. Yeah.
Disney. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is that Disney?
I don't know.
Here, you fact check while I do the next one.
Okay.
Next up, his next most successful film was The Karate Kid, the remake that came out. I think that was 2010, where he starred with what's his name?
DreamWorks.
DreamWorks Jaden Smith for The Karate Kid. That made $359 million. And then Kung Fu Yoga, which was not released in America. This film was a major box office success in China, where it became Jackie Chan's highest grossing film in China at the time. One of the top 10 highest grossing films of all time there, grossing 1.753 billion yen, which is about $254 million.
Keep in mind, they don't have as many theaters as America does.
And again, that was pretty much the only country that had a wide release of this film. It was barely released anywhere else. Even though it was also an Indian production, it was barely released in India, and it was a huge flop there. Rush Hour franchise. So in 1998, Rush Hour made $244 million on a budget of $33 million, which is a wild success.
And rated R.
Is it rated R?
Is it not?
I don't know. That's a Jackie Chan movie.
Does Chris swear at all?
I'm sure there's some swears, but I don't think they're F-bombs.
I think it's PG-13, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's PG-13. Yeah, he doesn't really make rated R movies.
Yeah.
He makes fun comedic action adventures.
That's true. You're right.
That's a huge success. That's adjusted for inflation today, about $450 million at the box office. Rush Hour 2 and then Rush Hour 3, which were released in 2001, 2007. Rush Hour 2 made $347 million, and Rush Hour 3 made $258 million. Both of those made more than the original, which is crazy, which shows you how much everyone loves these two characters, especially Jackie and Chris Tucker together. It's magic. It's movie magic. And I believe the fourth one was kind of announced this past year, so I think it's in development. Yeah. Hopefully, I know they've been trying to get it made for a while. I'm sure COVID slowed things down, but maybe allowed them to get the script going and make that complete by now.
They also need a new director.
But who knows? I would love to see a fourth one. But he has obviously, like, when you make this many movies, when you have 140 acting credits, you'll make some duds. In 2004, Around the World in 80 Days only made $24 million in the U.S. on a budget of $110 million, $74 million global. Disney had a terrible year in 2004, though, which made that movie. They had massive money losers with Hidalgo, The Alamo, Home on the Range, Raising Ellen, and also The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou capped off one of their worst years in film releases.
That's why they bought Marvel.
Exactly.
That's why they bought Marvel. They were out of stuff.
They weren't making that many great movies anymore. So those are his most successful films.
How successful are the Shanghai movies? Like 200 mil?
Let me double check real quick. The Foreigner made $145 million. Shanghai Nights made $88 million. Shanghai Noon made $71 million. So not huge successes, but I think those were just, probably made their budget back barely.
Yeah. I loved it, though.
Oh, yeah. Those movies are great.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Those were like renting at Blockbuster, Shanghai Noon all the time.
And then Aidan Gillen's the villain in the second one.
True.
Littlefinger.
True. But I just think that, they captured the duo thing with Around the World in 80 Days, which he had done with Chris Tucker, he had done with Owen Wilson. I think people maybe weren't exactly feeling it again, and maybe they needed to see him in a lead role again. As most of you know, Anthony and I are glasses wearers, and getting a better night's sleep is the main reason why we're so excited to be partnering with Felix Gray and their blue light glasses, which are not only the best quality you can get on the market, but the most stylish.
Be sure to check out Felix Gray's entire line with our special link, felixgrayglasses.com/Raiders. Again, that's felixgray, Gray, glasses.com/Raiders.
I'm currently wearing my brand new Felix Gray glasses right now, and I'm blown away. They're super sturdy. As soon as I took them out of the box, I'm like, wow, these are legit, high quality. They feel great. Prescription is spot on. And I also got the amber lenses, which you can get them transparent lenses, but I wanted extra blue light reduction because I'm trying to reduce eye strain in my daily life because we're constantly on screens with our podcasts, on phones, on our computers, and I'm trying to get better night's sleeps. I'm trying to, reduce headaches and eye strain and stuff like that. So I opted for the amber lenses, but again, you can get them with clear if you want.
Constant exposure to blue light causes a bunch of negative health effects. What happens to me is my eyes are always super dry, which makes wearing contacts pretty much impossible, and I mess up my sleep rhythm. It messes up my circadian rhythm. I wake up multiple times throughout the night. So these blue light blocking glasses are going to work wonders for my sleep cycle and for my dry eyes.
And the great thing about Felix Gray is you can get them as prescription like I have right now on, non-prescription, or reading glasses. So even if you're not a glasses wearer, you can still get a pair of Felix Grays to help combat blue light exposure when on screens, whether you're doing work from home like we do constantly, watching movies, or scrolling TikTok at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday night. And again, you can get clear or amber lenses.
Felix Gray's blue light technology blocks 15 times more blue light than competitors, thanks to their blue light blocking technology being directly infused into their lenses, meaning they will last for years.
Get your Felix Gray glasses with our special link, felixgrayglasses.com/Raiders. That's Felix, Gray, glasses.com/Raiders.
I want to get into Jackie Chan's stunt work because it is really impressive. So his stunts are both impressive, amazing, and extremely dangerous. And he's suffered countless injuries all over his body, many of them extremely serious injuries. It's a miracle this guy is still alive, honestly, because of what he's been through. It must be a combination of luck, and also he must prepare his body for impacts and for intense moments like this, like being crushed by a car or falling 80 feet, because normal people can't survive these kinds of things. But even when he messes up his stunts, he manages to keep walking away from them.
Plus sheer will.
Sheer will, yeah. The motivation and the will to live probably is very strong within him. So I made a list of his stunts, his craziest stunts. They're not in order, but they're pretty wild. So let's start off with the first one. In Police Story, the first one, which is one of his biggest franchises. So he has two huge franchises in China, Police Story franchise and then the Drunken Master franchise. But Police Story made him a huge star after Drunken Master. And so there's a famous scene in a shopping mall where near the end of the film, during the climax, he's chasing bad guys. And he's on like the 6th floor of the mall, in the center of the mall, and there's different levels. And he needs to get to the first floor like immediately. And the only way down fast enough is to jump down this metal pole that runs from the bottom to the top to the ceiling. And this pole is laced with real lights, and he has to jump from the ledge of the mall, from the platform, and jump onto the bar and slide down the bar. And he did it perfectly, and on his way down, he broke through all the glass bulbs, burning through his hands, slicing his hands open, and he was also electrically shot. And when he did land, he broke his pelvic bone, and he broke his vertebrae.
And also on that stunt, didn't he go too early? Like he read the wrong sign from the person who was sending him signals of when to go?
Oh no, so what happened was what they did was they set up several cameras around the mall, like 12 cameras, to get all the different angles from the different levels. And the thing was he had to jump because they didn't want to waste all the film, because film's very expensive. You're running with that many cameras, you're going to burn through so much film. Just a minute of film recording with that many cameras, it's a lot of money lost. So he jumped on the ledge, and he was like amping himself up. He was supposed to give them a signal from when he's on top, like crouched on the ledge, when he's ready to jump. Then they'd all start rolling the cameras. And so when he was standing on the ledge, in his head he was panicking, and he's like, I can't do this, I can't jump. And then he accidentally like moved slightly, and that was an accidental cue. So all the cameras started rolling when he didn't actually give a real cue that he was ready to jump. And so once all the cameras started rolling, he was like, screw it, I gotta do it now. We're gonna waste all this film. So then he jumped.
Absolutely insane. The footage is incredible. If you haven't seen that movie, look up that stunt online on YouTube. It's wild.
And next up, there's a stunt in an early film of his called Armor of God, which was one of the first films that he directed and starred in. And what he had to do in this stunt was he had to jump off a wall of a castle onto a big tree branch, swing down through the branches, and then land on the ground. Now, he performed this stunt perfectly the first time. He went across, he jumped across, landed on the tree, and then swung down the branches, landed fine. Everything worked. But when he saw the footage back, he's like, I was going way too slow. It doesn't look good enough. So then he went to do the stunt again, and so he jumped from the castle wall onto the tree branch, and the branch he landed on snapped and broke, and he fell several dozen feet straight to the ground, and his head landed on a stone, cracked his head. He cracked his skull, and then he had to be airlifted to a hospital immediately, where they had to do a quick surgery and pull a piece of bone out of his brain, and then they put a metal plate in his skull. And then, like, a few weeks later, he went back and finished production on the movie.
Well, actually, also, so he had an 8-hour surgery, a brain surgery, and as a result, he now has a permanent hole in his head, and it's filled by a plastic plug, and he still has hearing loss in that ear.
Crazy.
Which is wild. Then he has a crazy stunt of a clock tower fall in Project A. An admirer of Hollywood silent-era film and actors like Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, in Project A, Chan paid homage to one of his idols. Here, Chan took inspiration from the most famous stunt from Safety Last, a 1923 Hollywood movie featuring Harold Lloyd climbing a skyscraper to evade the police and eventually dangling from a clock face high above the city. Some 25 meters above the ground in his film Project A, Chan let go of the clock with only 2 awnings below to break his fall. Although worried about the danger of the stunt, he landed on his head more than once. When filming it, Chan performed it 3 times.
And the awnings were like these just canvas awnings that you would see in front of a storefront, and his body just breaks through them like nothing. It's crazy. And as he breaks through each one, his body like flips even more.
Nuts.
Next up, we have a famous helicopter stunt in Police Story 3. So in the third film of this franchise, he decided that he would literally take on to the skies. This time, he leapt from a building and grabbed a rope ladder that is suspended from a helicopter. He then had to hold on for dear life onto the ladder as the helicopter flew higher and higher across the city, narrowly missing all sorts of buildings as it weaved through the city structures. Despite the danger involved, during the stunt, he was not injured at all. It was other scenes in Police Story 3 that made him injured, but on top of how dangerous the stunt was, he was not strapped by any kind of rope to the helicopter at all. It was just Jackie holding on to a ladder with his arms.
In Who Am I? He has a wild skyscraper slide stunt. With the villain's hut on his trail, Jackie slides down the sloped glass side of Rotterdam's famous Willemswerf building. He descended 21 stories at one stage, flipping up on his feet and repositioning himself head first, all the time moving forward at increasing speed. Plus, the different camera angles throughout the scene made it clear that he didn't just do the stunt once.
That was a great one, and it was a more recent movie. He was like in his 50s when he did that stunt. It's crazy.
And Who Am I?
Yeah, and the footage is unbelievable. He's just like down this giant skyscraper face. It's insane.
Actually, let me fact check you on that, Anthony. Who Am I came out in 1998, which would have made Jackie like 42, 43, depending on when his birthday is.
Fact check complete.
Yes, fact check true. Now let's head on into our intermission, and we'll begin with our movie quote competition. This one's for me, Anthony. Good luck.
Thanks.
Be sure you do that. If I'd been drinking out of the toilet, I might have been killed.
Ace Ventura.
Yes, sir.
That's a good impression.
Be sure you do that. If I'd been drinking out of the toilet, I might have been killed.
He's also the person you get compared to most.
People
for
say I look like
celebrities.
him.
Yeah.
I can't tell if that's a compliment or
No,
or
he's a
slight.
good-looking guy.
It's weird that you get compared to Keanu Reeves and then I get compared to Jim Carrey, and we're twins, but we do have slightly different looks. But it's just interesting that you get Keanu and I don't. But I see that sometimes. I'll see a photo of you and be like, he does look like Keanu Reeves sometimes.
Oh, really?
With the scruff,
man.
Yeah, and because you got a
patchy scruff.
because you got a more slender face than me because you came out feet first. So you're
I was
he's
pulled
not
up by
quite
my
a,
feet.
He's not quite a cone head, everybody, but it's a little more narrow than me. He wears a size 6 3/4 hat.
It's a small hat
He
size.
wears little kids hats.
It's a small hat. It can be difficult. I can't find a new era that doesn't look like it's too puffy on my head. There's a lot of open
It goes
air.
over his ears.
Yeah.
It's like he's the little sluggers baseball age 6 wearing a baseball cap. It's really cute, ladies.
It's true.
Anthony's ready to hang out with his cool hat.
I have a belly button and a new hat.
Move on to your quote.
This is a quote from our buddy Jim Bro Baggins.
New Godfather tier, right?
Yeah, he became a Godfather tier a few days ago.
Love this guy.
Okay, here's his quote. 2 people talk. It's just 2 lines, though. I didn't murder my wife. I don't care.
It sounds like it's a Harrison Ford movie. It's The Fugitive.
Correct.
Let's go.
Ding, 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 ding.
Love that movie.
That was my Harrison Ford impression.
classic. It's a pretty good impression.
Thanks, man.
All right, guess this movie.
Get
release
off my
year.
plane.
Money Talks.
Money Talks. Can you do me a favor? Who's in this movie?
You know? Oh, so it's the one with Charlie Sheen and Chris Tucker, and they're stealing diamonds.
Oh yeah, the Diamonds one.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. 1996.
97.
Ah, close.
It's a good one.
I remember that one.
She's fat. PH fat.
PH fat.
PH.
I love that guy.
Love
He's
Chris
funny.
Tucker.
He's so funny. All right, next up, Bottle Rocket.
1997.
Six.
Damn
Both of them 90. We guessed 96 and they were 97.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our movie pop quiz. What was the last film Bruce Lee acted in?
I don't know. I do not know.
Game of Death.
Game of Death.
And his last movie released was Enter the Dragon.
That's what I was thinking, but I didn't feel like
However,
it was right.
he filmed that whole movie. He died right before it was released. But
Uh-huh.
Game of Death, he died during the production. They ended up being able to complete it, I think, like 6 years later, and it was released. They had some fill-in actors and stuff like that to be able to make it, to complete it because it was incomplete when he passed away.
Such a tragedy. He would have been.
Can you imagine the movies that
The
guy would have made?
legendary,
He
like-
was just getting cooking. Like he was just starting.
He'd still be an icon to this
Especially
day.
because he was such a huge star in the world. He was
I guarantee he would have lived to like 110 too.
maybe he was maybe the biggest star in America too
Yeah.
at the time. Not just his movies, but also just his
Celebrity.
his personality, celebrity, and his philosophical views on life and everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy how famous that guy was. and
His
how-
school of martial arts probably would have become huge.
I'm sure. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, he's still the grandfather of MMA.
I know, but just having his presence would have made it explode even more.
It's still, yeah, but it's still
Yeah.
pretty big. But yeah, you're right, probably. All right, what do you got for? Actually,
I got a quiz.
You got a quiz? Yeah.
What was Owen Wilson nominated for an Oscar for?
Owen Wilson was nominated for an Oscar.
Indeed.
What?
I see you on your phone. You better not be Googling
No,
it.
I was pulling up the
he's
next category.
pulling up the next
I was
category.
pulling up the supporter of the
I
week.
hear a lot of stutters.
Here, you can look at my phone.
I trust you.
Yeah, I
I'm
pulled
kidding.
up
I'm kidding.
the podcast to pull up the reviews.
thank
I
you.
would never cheat. I don't need
I know.
to cheat.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oscar-worthy performances by Owen Wilson in a movie.
He was nominated for an Oscar.
Was it this century? Can I get a little quick hint?
No, it was not this century.
Oh, all right.
And I did not say acting.
Oh,
He was nominated for an
for
Oscar.
writing,
I didn't say that either.
co-writing,
It's an editing Oscar. I'm kidding.
cinematography. He filmed Titanic. I'm gonna say it's got to be a Wes Anderson movie that he co-wrote. My guess. Besides Bottle Rocket, like what came out before 2000 with Wes? Royal Tenenbaums is 2001. Oh man.
Oh, it's not before 2000. It's after 2000.
Oh, it's after 2000.
Yeah.
So when I said this century, you just blatantly lied.
I was mistaken. I did not lie. There's a difference between being wrong and lying.
And I'm sorry, was there a nomination or a win?
Nomination.
So Oscar nomination, Owen Wilson. I'm gonna go Royal Tenenbaums.
Correct.
Nice.
Nice job.
Thanks, man.
Good one.
I had a little help. You know, you helped me out a little bit.
Yeah, but
Even though you tried to throw me off the scent by giving me the wrong century.
it was, I did not try. It was not intentional. I was wrong. Give me a break.
Hey, man, it's okay. We figured it out.
I'm glad you did.
Thanks for the help. All right, we have any haters this week or unsubscribes?
We got a bunch of unsubscribes. It was a good week of unsubscribes. Okay. So on our Batman review, Matthew Westphal calling a grappling gun a Gatling gun. Unsubscribed.
Sorry, guys. I got a couple of those.
Evan Smith, Anthony giving Paddington 2 a better score than the Batman. Unsubscribed. I stand by it.
Because you did say the Paddington 2
10
is
out of 10.
a perfect movie.
10 out of 10. In the Godfather episode, James, not everyone has seen The Godfather. Thanks for spoiling it. Unsubscribed. Also, I'm only subscribing to one Raider of the Lost podcast from now on. And I said, I approve, Anthony.
Champagne OG, Big Sant on Twitter, who follows us, big fan. He also pointed out the grappling gun thing to me too on Twitter.
Yeah, we're boneheads.
Thanks, pal.
We didn't read comics, guys. Sorry.
I got mixed up. Gatling gun, grappling gun.
I have a favorite comment of the week too, a top comment. So Juju's daddy wrote, your videos on TikTok are refreshing because you don't bring up Dune or IMAX every 5 minutes like you do on Spotify.
It's pretty good. All right.
Sorry, I have another.
Yeah, you got another one?
I do not actually. That was it.
All right.
I lied.
So our top supporter of this episode is a great 5-star review from Daveney IMV. Or it's Deveney MV, sorry.
Wow.
it's because
Daveney. Leonardo da Vinci. Daveney.
No, because Da Vinci
was such a great artist.
Da Vinci is capital D-A,
It's
capital
lowercase
V.
D-A.
So
It's lowercase D-A.
huh?
Lowercase
Well,
D-A.
capital V. Da
Yeah, capital
Vinci.
V, yeah.
It's a capital D here, so I was just, you know how usernames are sometimes. Da Vinci
Words are hard
Da Vinci
sometimes.
MV. When IMDb is not enough, these guys, I can't read the headline, are
You can't read anything.
probably great. It's cut off. It just says ... You guys make my ride to and from work on Route 93 in Boston.
Yeah, kid.
I'm sure you guys know all about that ride. So much more exciting. Your thorough reviews and knowledge of movies is an absolute pleasure to listen to. I feel like I'm in the studio with you guys. Keep up the great work. Fan for life. Thanks, kid.
Thanks, playa.
Appreciate
Route 93.
Appreciate you, Davin INCI Da Vinci MV. You're the best.
We have a Godfather shout out for today. Ben Cook. He joined our Godfather Patreon last week, and we couldn't be more excited to have him on board. The Godfather tier patron, as well as all of our other patrons, they really help James and I do the show full time. We appreciate your support so much, everybody. He requested us to do vintage cult classics in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, good
movies like
choice.
Big Trouble in Little China. So his Godfather episode is going to be a lot of fun.
Ben, on the day of our episode on Jackie Chan,
we couldn't refuse.
you became a Godfather tier patron. Thank you so much.
Thanks, pal.
On this day in film history, today is Monday, March 21st. In 1997, Liar Liar and Selena are released. In 2014, Divergent was released. And happy birthday to Gary Oldman.
Oh, hey.
My streaming recommendation for this episode is actually Liar Liar, which is on Amazon Prime, just got added.
I did that last week.
Did you? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
everybody. I'm sorry. Well, my backup is The Rock on Amazon Prime, which is
The Rock.
maybe Michael Bay's. I think it's Michael Bay's only fresh movie on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Out of all of them.
But it's like a classic, cheesy, corny, like 90s action movie.
I have...
A belly button. I wipe my own ass.
Hold on, I'm scrolling through Amazon right now.
I wipe my own ass.
Oh, The Impossible is on Amazon Prime. That's a great disaster movie. Really well done.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's one of his first movies.
I think it's his first role.
Maybe, yeah.
Might be. We know Jackie is iconic for his death-defying stunts. And I'm telling you, if you're not using the right trimmer, fellas, that itself is a death-defying stunt. So get to manscaped.com. Use our coupon code Raiders of the Lost at checkout from their website. You'll get 20% off and free shipping on your entire order today, like on their product, the Lawnmower 4.0 Groomer, which has a built-in light. It's waterproof, skin-safe, 7,000 RPM wireless charger you can use in the shower, fellas. It's the best way to groom. Manscaped also recently launched their Ultra Premium Collection, which is the ultimate wet goods bundle, which includes deodorant, body wash, 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, hydrating body spray, and the package also comes with a free set of Manscaped lip balm, which is fantastic. I'm telling you, Manscaped is starting to take over all of your grooming needs, your shower needs, everything in your daily makeup needs. Go to manscaped.com, use our coupon code Raiders of the Lost at checkout. You'll get 20% off and free shipping worldwide.
If you're a fan of Jackie Chan movies, there's no better way to express that fandom than by decking out. If you're a fan of Jackie Chan movies, there is no better way to express that fandom than by buying a bunch of movie posters. The best place to do that, of course, is at movieposters.com. Have you heard of them, Jim?
I have heard of them.
Oh,
They're
nice.
pretty great.
I'm glad to hear. They have a gigantic selection of all sorts of movies and TV shows, everyone you can pretty much imagine in their arsenal. They have teamed up with us to offer a very special discount coupon code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order today. They have all sorts of sizes, framing, backlighting, whatever your poster needs are, movieposters.com has you covered. Again, head on over to their website and use our special promo code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order today.
Now, let's get back into our episode on Jackie Chan. And before we get into more stunts, I have an entire list of most of Jackie's major injuries. Which
Oh
is
my
pretty
God,
crazy.
let's hear it.
These are all the injuries he suffered, the major ones. A broken eyebrow bone, whatever bone that's called, broken nose, knocked out teeth, lip laceration, lower chin injury. I don't know what that is, probably just like a nearly broken jaw. dislocated cheekbone, eye injury, broken ankle, bruised throat, broken hip, multiple concussions, dislocated shoulder, dislocated sternum, broken breastbone, multiple broken fingers, spinal trauma, broken tailbone, dislocated pelvis, broken tailbone, skull fracture, back damage, patella damage, and that hole in his head. And this man is still doing it, which is crazy. It shows you that age is just a number, and just sheer determined heart, like human will get you through pretty much anything if you have like the drive that he has.
A couple of those injuries are deemed like impossible. When in one of his injuries, I read it, you didn't list it, but he dislocated his breastplate, which doctors deem like an impossible thing to do, but somehow he managed to dislocate his breastplate. So he's just been through like more injuries than any human being alive right now, possibly.
Absolutely insane. Now let's get back into some more of his crazy stunts.
So one of his most impressive and just probably could be one of his most dangerous stunt is that he jumped from one rooftop to another rooftop. And this was in the movie The Rumble in the Bronx, which was his first attempt at American movies. It came out in the 80s. It was not a very big success, but it would lead to audiences becoming kind of familiar with him. And in this stunt, he jumped the gap between from building to building, but the gap was 28 feet. And so obviously where he landed was lower than where he took off, but still 28 feet. He jumped from building to building without a wire or a harness or anything, just on his own, nothing. And it's just it's just like an immense amount of skill. Imagine just like the courage it takes to just do that, to jump from one building to another. If I had to jump like 2-foot gap, I'd be like, let me think about this. Let me amp myself up.
Jumping from couch to couch is enough. That's insane. Jumping onto a sidewalk is a lot too.
28 feet. 28 feet.
Pretty crazy. All right, next up in Police Story 4, First Strike. He did a snowboard jump.
Is that the fourth strike?
So in the fourth Police Story movie, it's not the best in the series, but it has a cool James Bond-esque opening sequence in which Jackie is pursued by bad guys on snowboards. At one point, our hero zooms off the side of the mountain towards a hovering helicopter, and he manages to grab the landing skids on the bottom of the helicopter. As ever, Jackie shows the stunt from multiple angles, allows us to see that the stunt was 100% Jackie Chan. So he's just like a crazy human.
Amazing. I don't know how he does that. A very famous stunt of his was in the first Police Story. I think some of his most iconic ones were just in this one movie. And it's a scene where he's pursuing two villains, and they get onto a bus, and so Jackie has to chase the bus on foot. He manages to take an umbrella from a pedestrian, and he hooks it onto the back bumper of the bus. And the bus begins driving at a high speed, and so he's just holding onto this umbrella while he's being dragged by his Converse Chucks on the cement. And it's going very fast, and you can just see his feet are just burning rubber on the concrete. And then eventually the bus comes to a halt, and he smashes into the back of it.
That's crazy.
Unbelievable.
Speaking of burning hut, in Drunken Master 2, he has a great hut coal crawl. So in 1994, Jackie returned to the movie that helped make him a star and delivered an incredible sequel to his 78 martial arts classic Drunken Master, Drunken Master 2. It's every bit as good as the original and features some of the best fight sequences of his career. The most insane moment occurs towards the end when our hero is knocked backwards into a pit of red-hot burning coals. Yes, they're real. Jackie crawls backwards through the pit using his bare hands as flames lick up all around him before climbing out and getting on with the action.
How does he do that? It's insane. It's
mental.
Unbelievable.
It's all mental.
Yeah. Next up, we have a bus jump in Police Story 2. So it's another sequence with a bus, but this time Jackie is standing on top of a moving bus, moving through traffic while he's chasing bad guys. And what happens is in the stunt, and they designed a building this way. So one of the buildings is just these tall floor-to-ceiling windows of the second floor of a building. So his stunt is to jump from the moving bus through the glass into that building. Got me?
Got
you. And so he does. He performs the stunt. The bus zooms past the glass, and then Jackie jumps from the bus ceiling through the glass and lands inside the room successfully. However, there were 3 large window panes. One of them was sugar glass, just breakaway glass, and the other 2 were real glass. And he accidentally jumped through the real glass and nearly like lacerated his entire body because of it, but he managed to get out pretty much unscathed.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it was real glass he broke through by accident.
To quote him, "Unfortunately, I chose the wrong window as my target, and instead of hitting prop glass, I smashed through a real pane, which left me in real pain." All right, you do the last one.
And so, involving his martial arts, so one of the reasons why the martial arts in Jackie Chan movies look so great is because they are doing it for real. They're not performing the stunts choreography-wise to avoid getting hit. They are really taking punches and kicks in these Jackie Chan movies, and Jackie Chan especially has always been willing to take the punches and kicks himself. And in one of his movies, in The Snake in The Snake and the Eagle's Shadow, he was fighting opposite a legitimate martial arts master, and this martial arts master was nicknamed Thunderleg. And so, because he had the most lethal kick in China.
What's the Spider-Man in Spider-Man 1? Isn't the guy he wrestles Thunder something?
Thunder
Like,
something.
Thunder! No, Bonesaw.
Bonesaw.
Never mind.
Bonesaw.
Random movie drop that had nothing to do with what we're talking
Thanks for
about.
that irrelevant reference.
Move on. Bonesaw!
And so Thunderleg, in his scenes, he had to kick Jackie Chan in the head multiple times, and they did it take after take. And one of the kicks was so hard that it knocked out some of Jackie Chan's teeth. And doctor said that if his kick was just like a half of an inch higher, it would have popped his eye out of his socket. That's how hard the guy kicks. And it's not like it was an accident. They planned for Jackie Chan. He planned for him to actually take the kick in the face.
Jesus Christ.
So all of the martial arts, he's really getting hit.
It's crazy. Well, speaking of martial arts, while Jackie's not technically, he's a class martial arts, he has little formal training and doesn't hold any formal belt for any style. The basis for his martial arts was Peking opera, which used a more theatrical interpretation of martial arts and acrobatics. The fighting style he used during filming was a mix of different styles, primarily using northern and traditional kung fu as the base, then building on that with other fighting styles and slapstick to make the scene work, whatever scene it is, the most humorous way possible.
Yeah, and oftentimes he will create like the Drunken Master franchise. He created that style of fighting. It's not real. It's legend. It's legend and myth about like a Drunken Master. It's a real like man carried throughout stories in China, but he basically designed that choreography and that fighting style specifically for that movie. It's not a real fighting style. I want to get into some of my favorite movies of Jackie, and let's start with Shanghai real quick.
Shanghai Noon,
Shanghai
Night.
Noon. So Shanghai Noon, I really love. It's so great to see this fish out of water story, but I think Jackie does a great job of when he produces movies, making sure there's a lot of heart in them, making sure there's a lot of emotional stakes. You really feel for Lee. You think he's an amazing character. The audience loves him, and then teaming up with Owen Wilson, so much fun. And
He's Lee in Rush Hour.
Lee in Rush Hour. I'm sorry. What's his name? John Wayne. Yeah, it's funny how they allude to John Wayne in there, but I think the cinematography is outstanding. The comedy is firing on all cylinders. Great pairing of actors. Terrific eclectic cast. The Chinese actors are phenomenal, and I just really love that movie.
Yeah, Owen Wilson is great as Royal Ben, and then Chon Wang, his partner, and they're so funny and great together. They have great banter, and they're always going through ups and downs, and they just have so much fun. Lucy Liu's in that movie as well. She's phenomenal, and it's just a really beautiful movie like we talked about earlier. Production design, wardrobe, costuming, everything looks so great in this movie, and it's a really well executed film. Still holds up to this day. It is a classic, and I think it probably is categorized as a classic now since it was 2000 it came out, so 22 years old.
Wow, that's crazy. And then Shanghai Nights, it's a really good sequel. It's not on the same level as Shanghai Noon, but it's, again, still well made. It's fun to be in London. It's fun to be in Europe. These two, not only is John fish out of water, but Royal Bannon's a fish out of water as well. Aidan Gillen is a really fun villain in this, and it's got more of a murder mystery vibe, again, trying to save the day. Super fun, and a great final climactic sequence in the clock tower.
And the third one is going to be called Shanghai Moon, and it's going to be both our fish out of waters again, but they're on the moon.
They're in space. Shanghai Moon.
Adam Sandler is a dog.
A dog. And then there's A couple lesser known Jackie Chan ones, The Tuxedo with Jennifer Love Hewitt, where Jackie Chan plays this comedic guy, and he's given this tuxedo that is like robotic or whatever, and it moves for him, and the tuxedo is programmed to do special martial arts and is capable of performing great stunt work. So when he wears the suit, it's like a super suit that allows him to perform in the scenes. It's a fun movie for kids. And then we have The Medallion, which is another fun adventure one, not quite on the caliber, but obviously the big ones are Rush Hour 1, 2, and 3. Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan together is just comedic dynamite. What kind of fish is it?
Gefilte fish.
What kind of fish?
Gefilte fish.
Great action set pieces, a lot of fun music, well made, well crafted. The sequences are shot so well, especially the fight sequences and the stunts. Lots of wide camera angles, minimal amounts of cutting, so you can see that it is actually Jackie Chan fighting all these dudes, doing these crazy stunt sequences, especially like in the casino. Like, remember, there's that stunt where he has to jump across a room and then pull himself. He has to slide through the little slot where like you would hand money to a clerk and where they would pass chips. He had to slide through that little slot, and he did it, but the outtakes, he kept messing up. It was so funny.
Yeah, well, I know that we talked about his major, most intense and difficult stunts and death-defying stunts, but every single one of the sequences that he's in, he could easily break a limb, break a hand, break a wrist if he does the wrong thing, or it's insane just the intricacy of the choreography.
Even like when he's hiding in the hallways in the back and he's just got his arms and legs pressed against the walls to hide up on the ceiling. Like, he's just doing that himself. He does no wire work.
In Rush Hour, there's a ton. Like, when he sneaks up, he like parkours up the building and gets over the big stone wall, parkours up the mansion into the second floor, does the gun thing, taking the holster from them and removing the gun from the holster.
He goes from the bus, the top level of the bus, and he jumps onto the light.
Hollywood Boulevard sign.
Yeah, and then he just hangs from there. It's unbelievable.
It's insane. I love Rush Hour so much. It's iconic. You know, he plays an Chris Tucker's an LAPD detective, and then Jackie Chan is a Hong Kong inspector. He's like the best cop in Hong Kong, and then Chris Tucker's just like a hilarious guy in the LAPD.
He's the worst cop in the LAPD.
And then they're working together with the FBI to try to find the daughter of a Chinese consul and crazy, dangerous crime lord and everything. Crime lord ring going on. It's a great movie.
It's so much fun, and I just love the climax in the casino. Remember when Chris Tucker has to fight the lady that he has a crush on? And then the second and third ones, they're really good. They're not the same as the first one, but they're both just really fun. Great new members of the cast, bold times, and then all you want to see is just Chris Tucker, Jackie Chan, fight sequences, big set pieces, and some laughs, and the end credits.
A lot of laughs.
Yeah, lots
Every
of laughs.
scene is hysterical.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
And the Don Cheadle one is really funny. The
Yeah.
Don Cheadle and Chris Tucker one, super fun.
And then I also, in addition to those Hollywood films, Police Story in 1985, that is such a great action movie. It's a physical comedy movie with thrilling choreographed set pieces. Jackie Chan just like cemented himself as a movie star, you could say, in China with that one. And then Super Cop in 1992 was a huge success in China for sure. And that's just another breathtaking stunt film, slapstick comedy. He's really honing in on his style of comedy and adventure and action sequences.
And Drunken Master was one of the first ones, like you said earlier when we were listing off his movies, of doing this hilarious fight choreography of this guy who's just getting drunk and fighting, and he plays that slapstick humor so well. He's just like, you're laughing at him and then also amazed at what he's doing on screen. It's amazing.
Really funny movie because he can only perform the intense martial arts when he's drunk. So he's always just like chugging
looking for it.
bottles of like liquor, like 2 at a time, just chugging down his throat just to be able to fight.
It's really funny.
Really great.
Yeah, it's like an old cartoon you would see.
So I have a couple rankings for his movies.
Oh, let's hear it.
So this is the Rotten Tomatoes Jackie Chan's ratings top 15. So we'll start with number 15 and go up. Actually, let's start with number 16 because Who Am I's on there, and I really like Who Am I. So that's number 16.
Who am I?
67% Rotten Tomatoes. Operation Condor is number 15 at 78%. Project A, the sequel, Project A2, is at number 14, 71%. The Armor of God is number 13, 72%. Project A, the original, is number 12 at 77%. Little Big Soldier, number 11 at 79%. Shanghai Noon is at number 10 at 80%. Rumble in the Bronx is number 9 at 80%. Kung Fu Panda 2, number 8 at 80%. Jackie Chan's Police Story 2, number 7 at 83%. Drunken Master 2 at number 6, at 84%. Kung Fu Panda 3 is number 5, 87%. Kung Fu Panda, the original, is number 4 at 87%. Then Crime Story at number 3, 93%. Police Story, number 2 at 93%. And then Super Cop is number 1 at 96% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow, great list.
And then according to IMDb, this is the IMDb rating, number 1 is The Legend of the Drunken Master with a 7.6 rating. Number 2 is Police Story with 7.5. Number 3 is Operation Condor at 7.2. Drunken Master is next at number 4 with a rating of 7.5. Oh, wait, this is out of order. I'm sorry. And then also, those two flipped. The Foreigner is at 7.0 at number 6.
That's a recent one.
And then Wheels on Meals, 7.0 at number 7. Rumble in the Bronx is a 6.7. I'm sorry, Rush Hour is 7.0 also.
Man, Shanghai Noon's not even on that list.
Yeah, I wonder where. I think Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Nights are both
In the
under 7.
sixes?
They're like 6.7 and 6.6 for Shanghai Noon.
Man, that's surprising.
Yeah,
I
love that
disagree.
movie.
I disagree.
Such a blast.
Yeah, I give that at least a 7.5.
It's a classic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I want to watch it after we've been talking about
Oh
it.
yeah, it's John Wayne.
Now,
It's
so
amazing.
Jackie Chan obviously has been training his entire career, and he had the benefit of starting so young and then having the craziest work ethic on the planet Earth for an entertainer, you could argue. And his current routine is still very intense for a man of his age. So his current routine is running 3 to 5 miles a day every morning. Then he also will throw in strength training, MMA, Kung Fu throughout the week every day. So either he's strength training or doing MMA, Kung Fu, whatever
Wow,
day it is.
it's amazing.
He's still running 3 to 5 miles a day.
So that makes sense for why he's able to withstand all these injuries.
Well, plus think of all the martial arts training, all the rolling around on mats.
Yeah, because that like really strengthens your core and your body as a whole. Not just like people just working out like their glory muscles, as Mac would say in Sunny in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
the glamour muscles. But like he's working out all of like people deem unimportant muscles. How his body's, it's like he's fortifying his entire core and his spine and his back. Everything about him to withstand these moments, these impacts, these injuries.
Yeah, but also his bone strength is just probably through
bone
the roof.
density.
Because,
Yeah.
I mean, like we said, when he was rolling around as a little baby, he was nicknamed the Cannonball. You strengthen his bones at such a young age, then constant martial arts, that'll strengthen your bones as well because
Impact.
yeah, that's what increases bone strength, in addition to drinking your milk and calcium and vitamin D as well.
Getting that sunlight.
But impact does increase bone strength.
Yeah, so the hands of like boxers and fighters, the bones are extremely dense because that impact, it fortifies your bones over time.
But boxers are prone to broken hands
Yeah.
because of all the infliction of damage on them.
because they're throwing that amount of mass is just insane.
But yeah, now that we're talking about fighting, I think we're pretty much wrapped up on our Jackie Chan episode.
I love Jackie Chan. He's always been one of my favorite actors. We grew up as Jackie Chan was like, he was our superhero. He was an amazing actor for so long.
We were like the perfect age
Yeah.
for when he came to Hollywood. In 1998, we were 7, 8 years old, and then just all of his movies.
We saw all of his American films and loved them all. He's such a terrific, special guy for the history of film. He'll be remembered forever, and he deserves that accolade he got by the Oscars. He deserved that more than most because he's had such a profound impact on cinema, not just here in America, but internationally.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode on Jackie Chan. We hope you love his movies as much as we do, and hopefully we inspire you to go back through his filmography, especially his classics.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Raiders of the Lost podcast. Be sure to subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button, leave a comment. Find us on all audio streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find us. Find us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Raiders of the Lost podcast. Be sure to check out one of these other videos right here for more content on our favorite films and breaking down all kinds of movie content. Thanks so much.